and welcome to our student Q&A panel. We're joined by some of our current students and they're going to share their experience so far of studying at the University of Glasgow. Please do use the chat or the Q&A box to ask any questions that you have. We've also got some questions that have been submitted beforehand that we'll run through too. So we'll start off by introducing our panel. Craig, would you like to start us off?
Yeah, I'll give it a go. So yeah, my name's Craig. I'm part of the cardiovascular and metabolic disease program. I don't know how much more I should say. But it's been a good year. We just came to the end of it now. I'm just submitting my project. But I'm happy to obviously take questions on stuff like that on the program and regards to projects and the course itself, obviously.
And Zoe.
Hi, yeah, I'm Zoe. I'm from Edinburgh originally, and I'm on the Science Communications programme. So yeah, happy again. I'm kind of midway through my project, so happy to answer questions on that or anything to do with the course as well.
Super. I think a nice starting point would be, why did you choose the programme that you're studying, and why did you choose to study at the University of Glasgow? Zoe, do you want to go first?
Sorry, you can't. All right, so right in at the deep end with why we chose the courses, right? So I absolutely love the field. I did some courses in cardiovascular and metabolic disease at undergrad as well, and I want to go into a PhD, and I really love the field, and obviously it's hugely important. Cardiovascular and metabolic disease, it's the biggest killer. So we need more people to research it and to work on these problems. At Glasgow in particular, I'm a Glasgow boy, so I had to support the university, and obviously it's a great uni, so it was the best one available to me as well.
And what about you, Zoe?
Yeah, so I was at Dundee for my undergrad, and I did some courses in science communications. It's like optional modules, and I really, really enjoyed it. I did my honours project for that last year, and I thought I could really do it another year to kind of develop a bit more of my skills before going out to the big workplace. So I had a look, and well, now it's a year on, but it's the only course offered in Scotland now for a master's programme. So I thought I've obviously chose well, but I thought it was very important to kind of get more used to the skills, and like throughout the year I've had quite a lot of like real life applications for them, and I think it's kind of built like sort of a portfolio now to go into the big world. So yeah, I just really enjoyed the course that I knew beforehand, and yeah, that's why I chose it.
Fab. And what are you enjoying most about your MSc?
Just keep the same rhythm. Okay, so I'll go first. So what am I enjoying most? It's a fantastic opportunity to learn from people who are wicked smart and people who are really big in the field, and people are respected, and you can learn so much skills and knowledge from them. And they've all been really kind and really helpful so far. That's what I've enjoyed most, definitely.
Yeah, for me it's quite a small, tight-knit course. We're all very close, which is nice, and we all really help each other on with our coursework. So we have a lot of things like editorials and like tutorials, so we can kind of go into our sessions looking for a bit of feedback. So it's not just solely from our lecturers and tutors, it's also from our group as a whole. I've also really enjoyed that we've not just had University of Glasgow staff, it's also a lot of external people coming in to talk about their real life experiences or to kind of teach us different skill sets, which I found really beneficial this year.
That's really good, isn't it? Because I suppose you're doing your 12 months worth of study, but a lot of people after it, they're either going to get a PhD or they're going to go into that big wild world of work that you were talking about, Zoe. Craig, have you had the same opportunities? Have you had any sort of industry opportunities or networking opportunities, I suppose?
It's been fairly mixed. I mean, we've had clinicians on our program who work at the Royal Jubilee and Royal Infirmary as well. They've come in to give us lectures, and we get to obviously to discuss their work with them, which obviously gives us a bit of exposure to industry. But there wasn't a whole bunch of what would you say, experience. Well, we didn't get to go to clinics and stuff. But it is a research degree, it's not a clinical degree, so there's that to consider as well. But yeah, I think we've had some exposure to industry, which has been useful.
Yeah, and I suppose there's so much going on in the university out with your courses that I know that I get emails inviting me along to different semesters and workshops that aren't really appropriate for my job. But I suppose if you're in certain areas of different interests, you're welcome to go along to those as well.
Certainly.
And what about, is there anything that surprised you about your masters that's thrown you off, maybe what you didn't expect?
Hmm.
I think it's probably harder than I thought it was going to be. Um, I think even if students do well, it's still never it's people say it's hard. People say a master's degree is difficult. Of course it is, and it's supposed to be difficult to step up from a bachelor's, obviously. So, but it was a long journey getting through because some of the assessments are really difficult, and as I say, more difficult than I probably anticipated. So if I had any advice to give to people, it would be stay ahead of your assessments. Go to your lectures, really give it 100% because it will catch up to you if not, and you'll get more enjoyment out of it if you approach it that way as well.
Yeah, mine's slightly similar as well with assessments. Not necessarily on like the difficulty, but the format of the assessments. We've not really had like our course personally is all coursework, which I really enjoy. Like I like to take my time on all my work instead of feeling the bit of the exam stress, which I've really enjoyed. But also it's not really like traditional like essays and stuff like that. We've got a lot of group work, a lot of digital work, whether that's like podcasts or YouTube videos or even like TikToks and stuff like that, which I think has really given me a good grounding for like now going forward after the course. But I didn't really know what to expect for the assessments, especially going from undergrads. They're not as like traditional, I'd say, as like some uni courses, which I've really enjoyed. And it's just a wee bit different and getting a bit of dipping your toe in everything, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, and I suppose the assessments are there to learn different skills that you probably will then use in future work or in endeavours that you take on. And Craig, it's really interesting you said it's harder than you thought, because I think
Mm.
I always hear that it's 12 months really intense. You don't really get like a little, we'll ease you into it and then we'll really step up. It kind of steps up from the get-go, doesn't it?
Yeah, well, I certainly felt that I completed my bachelor's in 2023, and then I went into industry for 2 years. So I was a wee bit rusty coming back into academia. But it hit me like a ton of bricks to begin with for the first 3 months, and I got through obviously, and it went all right. But it certainly was it was all out, from the start. It's certainly intensive, that's for sure.
Yeah, and that's not to put anybody off either, because not everybody comes from undergraduate straight into their masters like yourself. Some people take some time out to go work, find out maybe what they want to do, or they come back to then help them get to where they want to be. So maybe being out of the studying for a little bit, it just takes a little bit to get your brain back into that way of
Definitely.
working, I suppose. Um,
We had lots of doctors in our course as well, people who had been in the industry for years, so people who are intercalating from other places and stuff. So and they all done super well. So I don't think time out of academia is necessarily a bad thing. It's just an adjustment phase,
yeah,
you know.
and you'll have different skills as well to somebody that's just came straight from studying.
Yeah.
Um, And then we kind of touched on it there, but do you have any top tips for students starting in September? I suppose keeping on top of those assessments and deadlines, but is there any sort of other general sort of top tips you would give them?
Yeah, I think like for me, like a lot of our assessments, I know I keep going on about it, but a lot of our assessments are very much like they'll give you the format of it and you can kind of pick what topics you want to do. So I found like a lot of like making sure that I was reading up on like certain areas like that I'm really interested for me. So like I really enjoy like sports, for example. So I was reading up like sports news and thinking, how can I kind of apply that to science, if that makes sense? So a lot of my projects through the year have been on that. So just even like reading like news articles or even on like social media or LinkedIn, just also kind of having that wary of what else is out there, but just kind of keeping on top of what you're interested in and thinking actively how you can apply that knowledge to your learning as well.
It's an excellent answer. It's tough to follow. I would say one thing I was trying to do from the beginning was to try and build relationships with faculty. It's really good for connecting. It's really good for getting insights. I felt like that was an important part for me. I got on well with faculty this year, and if you can get on with them and be sociable and show that you're keen, then I think it goes a long way. And then, of course, what Zoe said as well. That's perfect. That's a perfect mindset, going into a master's.
Yeah. And in terms of sort of networking and socialising, how did you find starting the masters? Did you find it easy enough to make friends, albeit like within your course or external? Did you find that easy enough to do?
Yeah, our course is pretty small, if I'm being honest, so it was quite easy to get to know people quite quickly. I remember my first session very clearly at the year was we had like a little introduction and kind of what to expect for the year, and then we got given an icebreaker to go out in public and film a video. And we had like a week to complete it. Like we had to go out then and there and film it. And then we all kind of took a role. So someone did the filming, someone did the editing, someone made the questions, someone presented. So we all really quickly had to gel. And it really kind of set the stone for following through the year. So I found that a bit daunting at the time, going, oh no, I don't really know these people. But like some of these people are now like some of my close friends, and like even now that we're on projects and we're kind of all over the place with projects and we haven't seen each other that much. It's fun when you do bump into them again because you can kind of have that catch up and you've got that what's the word I'm looking for? Like stuff in
Relationship.
common. Yeah, and like relationship around it. So yeah, it's a bit, it can be a wee bit nervous going into it, like you don't really know who's going to be there or how many as well, and all different people with different backgrounds, but it's really easy to kind of make friends and really start socializing as well. So yeah, it's not that scary.
Yeah, I thought the course was quite similar. I mean, I think your course is probably a bit bigger than Zoe's. We had 20 plus students, and so there was obviously a very diverse group, and I mean, I think we all got on super well. And the postgraduate thing, the postgraduate barbecue session and stuff, we all had a good time at that. And I think that's a really good part of the year. It's a bit later in the year, granted, but I think that's a really nice part to go out as a class. Um, and obviously, people on your course have got pretty similar interests, so it's quite easy to get chatting and have discussions. And we had people from Hong Kong, we had people from Singapore, from all over, And then I was from Glasgow, which is quite a contrast. And it was awesome. And surprisingly, it's actually quite easy to get talking to people and make friends.
I think that's a really good point as well, that people on your course, you already have that thing in common, that you are interested in a similar subject, and then it's likely you've got other things in common to take it in, like, yeah, to be friends out with your studies. Um, let's see. A lot of our students work part-time alongside their studies to help fund their studies. Is that something that you have managed to do, or if you don't have a job, do you think you could manage a part-time job alongside your studies?
Yeah, like I've worked all throughout uni. So I went from direct from undergrad into postgrad. And I've maintained my job for like the last 4 years. I just kind of do the weekends and also like the occasional night during the week. So they've been pretty flexible. I guess it depends on where you're working as well. It depends kind of how flexible they are with your schedule and vice versa. But they've been pretty good in terms of if I said like I really need this like someday off, they're pretty good at moving my shifts about. But I wouldn't say it's a concern of mine. You just kind of, I guess, get in a routine like I usually do, like a Saturday, as I said. So like kind of at uni through the week and then work at the weekend. But a few people in my course as well have maintained their jobs, and it's not an issue at all. Like we've not found that to be a problem. We go right from like 1 day a week up to like 3 or 4 days a week. So it's just, I guess, being able to manage your time and staying organized with it. I've not found it a problem.
Yeah, well, as I say, I did industry first. So when I'd worked in industry, I'd actually saved up for my master's. So the intention was to get through and just focus purely on the studies. So I haven't worked through it. Got some help from family and obviously some help through my savings. So I've been able to just about get through. But I think you could manage a part-time job alongside the studies. It depends on your style of learning and how quickly you can learn things. I suppose everybody's different in that regard, but I think it's certainly doable. Yeah, similar to what Zoe's
Yeah,
done.
even just to like add to that, I found as well, like regardless of if you have to miss a class, whether that's for work or if you're ill or for various reasons, I found it's never been an issue to get my like lecturer or tutor to record the sessions, or even if they're not able to do that, if they're able to like send me an email and just make sure that I know what I've missed and what I need to catch up on for the next one. I've like always found that really helpful. They've been pretty good at communicating between students and staff. And as well with my course, if anyone's missed anything, we're pretty good at being able to like text each other or message or whatever and be able to make sure everyone's caught up and on the same page with everything.
I suppose that's the benefit of getting a little friend group established in your course as well, that if anyone's struggling with anything, be it because they're not there or it's just not something they're that familiar with, you can then lean on each other, as well as the academics as well. I think the
Yeah.
important thing on the part-time work there is if you're studying on a visa, you are limited to the number of hours you can work, and it's just important not to let work overtake your studies because 12 months, and like we've said, it goes by so quickly and there's just a lot to do throughout it. One of the biggest parts of your master's project is it master's program is your project, and for a lot of students it's their favourite part. Can you tell us a bit about your project, so what your project's on?
Yeah, I can go first. So my project in a nutshell is looking into why people feel more patriotic and this sense of belonging looking into major sporting events. So in particular, it's looking at Scotland at the World Cup. Obviously, it's quite topical. It's just been, and as part of my project, I am making a miniature documentary or documentary series. I'm still kind of in the editing process. So that's included like going out getting footage in terms of like B-roll and stuff like that, as well as being able to interview people. So I've reached out through various methods and I've been able to speak to um like sports journalists, a Scottish national lecturer, Tartan Army members, like a various amount of people, and then I'm kind of filling in the blanks. I've got like a psychologist I'm going to speak to next week as well. So yeah, it's a really interesting topic, but it was pretty good again. Like my supervisor, she's really good. She said to me like, I want you to make like this sort of video, and we can discuss what sort of topics you like. So I proposed my topic, and we worked on something that would work for both of us, and that was pretty easy. So yeah, I'm nearly we finish this time next month. I'll be completely finished. So I'm about 2/3 the way in. So yeah, we're getting there slowly, but it's been really good. And we've also like, because a lot of it's done online, like all my like editing and stuff like that. I can kind of do it in my own time as well. Like if I want to like work a wee bit later throughout the day, like if I want to have a wee bit of a lie-in, for example, I can do it. It's very on your own schedule, but I do have those like one-to-one meetings and check-ins every week with my supervisor just to make sure I'm hitting all those targets and making sure I'm on track. So it's good that you've got the flexibility, but also you can kind of do it at your own pace as well. So yeah, that's mine in a nutshell.
That sounds so interesting, and I do love when you speak to students how different every project's going to
Yeah.
be. So I imagine, Craig, you're going to tell us something completely different now.
Yeah, yeah. It's hard to make. Sometimes it can be hard to make data analysis projects really interesting. But what me and I've been working with Paul Welsh through the summer, Professor Paul Welsh, and we've been looking at proteins in the blood. So in a nutshell, there's a protein in your blood called troponin, and it becomes elevated when your heart undergoes damage. And we've been trying to find if using a large data set of people, if we look at your protein now, does it predict if your chance of getting heart failure in the future? And basically what I found is that your troponin levels are predictive of heart failure, and that was we've looked at that in like 19,000 odd people. It's a large data set. So that was so the project very much involved a lot of R work, a lot of statistics, like running Cox models and stuff like that. But it was epidemiological and it was obviously based in public health and cardiovascular disease. So it was really exciting for me, but I don't know how well I've sold it there. But it was exciting for me, certainly.
Yeah, that sounds really interesting. And I think that's something as well. Like, there's so much research going on in our university that that's, I'm guessing, a live bit of work that the school's looking at, and as well as
Yeah.
all the other projects that are going on. It's not just something that's been made up, that actually
No, definitely
happened.
not. It's got there's some real utility in it as well. Like you know, just as a sort of very brief background, almost 3/4 of all heart failure cases are diagnosed in patients who are just attending hospital, who just showed up at hospital with really bad symptoms. So there's a need there to try and find biomarkers where we can identify people who are at risk. And that's emerged this interest in this troponin that's in the blood. Can we use that to then see, oh, maybe they're at higher risk, maybe we should give them, treatment and care sooner. And that's certainly what the data suggests based on my project. So it was quite exciting for me.
Yeah, and that's stuff like to think in like 10 years' time, that might be what like that science, that research behind it might be used day to day for
Yeah, I think from what we've discussed, the work that I've done with Paul's going to be, I think he's going to be publishing something along those lines at some point. So and we've talked about if it, the work that I've done contributes, then I'll be part of that study to some degree. So that's exciting to get a publication, or to be part of a publication. So there's real opportunities at the university to get published as well. If you're part of the master's programs.
Yeah, and actually, it's something that I remember someone saying it's harder to get published when you're doing your masters, but actually, more and more, it's something that is happening. And I think sometimes it takes a wee bit of work, like after your masters, just like those finishing touches, just to get it just that extra step further to get it published. So that's always good. Good for the
Yeah,
CV. Speaking of
absolutely.
which, it's nearly the 12 months for your MSc is nearly up. What are the plans for after you graduate?
Uh, so I've got nothing lined up at the minute. I've been looking slowly but surely. I think for a lot of our course, you kind of default go into an area called medical communications. A lot of their intake is around April and May for a lot of the graduates that graduate for summer. And then they also have sort of more in like November, December. So I've through one of our modules, which looks into medcoms, they have a lot of people that come in from different companies come in to speak to us, and we've been given all their communications, their emails, their LinkedIn's, etc. So I've been in contact with a few of them and started to work through the application process for them. And then also just looking kind of externally in a variety of different roles, whether that's kind of looking more into science marketing or science journalism as well. So nothing quite yet, but there's stuff on the tables a wee bit.
So I've managed somehow. I've managed to get a PhD spot, a PhD position in the lab, in UBC in Vancouver. We're going to be doing it's quite a jump. That's why your reactions. It's quite a jump. I don't downplay it in any way. It's quite a move from Glasgow, but so I'm going to join the lab at the St Paul's Hospital in Vancouver to work on smooth muscle cells and atherosclerosis. So that's just the plaque that builds up in the arteries. So I'm going to be working in the lab with that probably for the next 4 or 5 years, which I'm obviously very excited about. Joining a good lab, it's fully funded, and starts January 2027, but I'll be moving at the end of the year. So I'm very excited for that.
Oh, that's amazing. And when you started your masters, is that where you thought you would end up, or is that just so happened that's come up that's sparked your interest and you're off?
Well, when I applied to the masters, the intention was to do PhD. So the masters training is fantastic for PhD training, particularly if it's abroad as well, because there's quite good channels in the UK, for example, where you can do a bachelor's and then do a PhD, and you can just make that transition. But some of the international programs, like the one I'm going to join, they require a master's level training. So, but the skills that I've got, I mean, I thought I was good then. I thought I was decent from my stage in my career, but I thought I've learned so much in a year, and it's going to be really helpful. But I didn't know, because of course I didn't know I was going to end up on the other side of the world at the end of the year. But certainly, I certainly thought I was going to do a PhD and I would manage to find somewhere, because I was quite motivated. So I'm very excited about it, obviously.
Yeah, no, congratulations. And Zoe,
Thank
you
you.
said that you were doing your masters just to sort of prep you for that in the world of work. Is that quite a scary thought that that 12 months is almost up and it's nearly time to hit the big world of work?
Yeah, honestly, I can't believe how quick it's gone in. I think like even thought my undergrad went so quick, and that was 4 years. So everyone says at the start, oh, like it'll go really fast, it'll go really fast, and you go, yeah, yeah. But no, it's honestly it's gone so quick. Um, yeah, I can't even believe it.
Wow. Well, yeah, you've done it. So it might have been difficult and it might have been harder than you thought, but you've managed it, which is great. Um,
I
that
think it's
sounds good.
frozen
Them
slightly.
coming. Sorry.
I thought you frozen there. Sorry,
Oh, sorry.
the connection
But
was a bit skewy.
am I back now?
That's you back. You're
Yeah.
back.
Fab. We are just coming to the end then of our session. It's been so lovely to chat to you both, and thanks very much for taking time out of your day because I know you've got lots to be doing with those projects. And hopefully everybody watching has found it helpful. If you do have any further questions, don't worry. All of our programme web pages have got email addresses on them, so do get in touch, whether that's a big question or a small question, and we'll do our best to help you. And hopefully we'll see you all come September. So thanks again, and best of luck to our students. Bye bye.